Hey guys, it's Nathan from SNTroopers here, and today I'm going to be bringing you another creepypasta. This one is a gaming creepypasta called DONOTPLAY.exe. I don't know if it's very popular or not, but yeah, let's just get straight in. I'm writing this to make sure this same thing doesn't happen to you as it did to me. I was searching the internet for free games. I came across this website that was for downloading free indie games and ROMs of homebrew games. But when I went to the website, my laptop crashed and it had to reboot. When it started back up, there was a strange icon on my desktop. DONOTPLAY.exe. I decided to open the game and play it. It looked like an early Super NES game with rather unpolished graphics. The title screen was a sunset sky scrolling cutting clouds, and the title was written in blue, angular, crystalline font in katana. I don't know. My Japanese was pretty rusty, but I knew enough to understand what it said. 4-beast story, or story of 4 beasts. It had 4 options: start, option, time attack, and sound test. There was no copyright or information date. I selected start and it seemed pretty good for an early SNES game until I got to level 6. More on that later. Here's how the game worked. You selected one of the 4 characters, and at the start of each level you could switch back into them in level via the pause screen. Like that old NES game, Little Something. There was a kappa named Nasu Eggplant, who lived useless on land, but was absolutely necessary for the underwater section. A cat named Monica, who's incredibly fast and agile, but weak. A wolf, I'm guessing it was a wolf, who had a dog-like nose and pointy ears, named Boris, who wasn't very strong and slow, and couldn't jump very high. And finally, the monkey, Hero, who had well-rounded jumping and speed abilities, and can take a fair amount of damage. Naturally, I usually picked Hero. The objective of each level was to find a key and use it to open a hidden door within a certain amount of time, usually 5 minutes. The levels were littered upon koban, oval gold littered with koban, oval gold coins once used as currency in Japan, that you could collect 50 of for a 1-up. Oddly though, the coin counter didn't reset when you did this. They just kept counting up as you collected them. I passed this off as a glitch left in by the developers. Some parts were really hard and I kept dying, so I found myself stocking up on coins to get 1-ups and running around out of time occasionally. It was no problem though. I could just try again when this happened. Now, about level 6. I finished level 5 of Hero, and then I started level 6. It skipped the character selection screen and plopped me right straight into the level. I dismissed it as a glitch, but then came to an entry to a water section, and I had to select Nasu. I hit the pause button to bring up character selection screen. I wish I hadn't. This triggered a cutscene, which showed the scene of a carnage by a riverbank. It was horrible. The other animals were mutilated in gruesome ways. Boris was gutted and his paws cut off. Nasu had a rope around his neck, and the shell was smashed in, revealing his organs. Monica was skinned, and her eyes were missing. This horrible image remained on the screen for about a minute. When the image faded, my character was now in a room that was empty except for a key and a door, which oddly was in plain sight. My sprite was no longer a monkey but a human. The background music was name entry from the Famicom Disk System version of Castlevania 3. I picked up the key and as I touched the door, the screen turned black and the phrase, "Abandon all hope. All ye who enter here," flashed on the screen rapidly for about 5 seconds. Another image came up with a scary looking guy with a Fu Manchu mustache wearing a strange hat sitting on a desk. The coin count came up and at the bottom of the screen. I hadn't paid much attention to it lately, but damn, I collected a lot of them, over 4,000. A digitized voice came from the speaker. "I am pleased by your offering. Please enter." Then the coin counter rapidly depleted until it was down to 0, accompanied by the sound of coins jingling. The screen faded, and I was in another room, which seemed to be a red cavern. There was no background music at this time. The only objective here was a door, which looked different than the wooden end of level doors in the rest of the game. Instead was a weird looking gate with eyes and teeth. I went through it thinking it would take me to level 7. It didn't take me there. Instead, it took me to, well, basically, hell. The graphics are astoundingly detailed here. Almost too good for the SNES. Even late era Squaresoft games like Bahamut Lagoon, Final Fantasy V, and Seiken Densu 3 weren't this good looking. This was rather stark in contrast to somewhat primitive graphics from the rest of the game. In the background, large red humanoids with horns wearing animal skins were brutally beating and torturing people in all sorts of ways. The calm music has turned to distorted backward versions of the song Centerfold, punctuated by anguished screams. I tried to progress, but one of the red creatures came out of the background and whacked my player's huge head off with a huge black spiked club. That was apparently the end of the game. I zoomed in on my character's headless corpse. The creature stuck its hand on the screen and began to come into the real world. I instantly slammed my laptop shut and it fell to the ground. Nervously, I opened it again. The alien was gone, and the emulator had closed. I breathed a sigh of relief. I still haven't played that gruesome game to this day.